How you brothers doing, man? Welcome to the MLC. It's your brother, Mr. Limba. For those of you who haven't heard from me, I have been posting here and there on Patreon. My health was a little bit iffy, still is actually. But overall, I just been busy, working on the grind, getting stuff done. If you haven't been aware, the world around us is kind of changing, so this is the time to make sure you do everything on point. You got to make sure that your investments are on point, your spiritual life is on point, your family life is on point. You can't just sit around entertaining yourself with entertainment and doing foolish things. You gotta be prepared. There's a new world coming. I'm not saying this as if the world is ending per se, but I'm saying things are changing. And those who fail to adapt, you get eliminated. You get naturally selected out. So today I'm going to answer a Patreon question from one of my brothers who's going through a tough time right now. For those of you who are supporting on Patreon, I do thank you guys. You appreciate the value of my work and the quality of my work over the quantity of work that I put out. So for that reason, anybody who have a question on Patreon, I'll definitely answer your question as soon as I can get to it. Make sure I keep my health on point. There's been a bit of an issue for me. So those of you who can, who are men of prayer, pray for your brother. This how this went. The brother sent me a memo, and it went like this. Hey, Mr. Limber, how are you doing, my brother? He says, I'm a big fan of yours, and I learn a lot from your wisdom. I am originally from West Africa, and my wife and I recently got a baby. Since she's been acting so weird. Since then, she's been acting so weird and disrespectful. Myself anyhow, because she claimed to be in pain. All right, she had 4 miscarriages, and I have been there for her through all the trauma. She was scared that I would leave her. I am the type, I don't take crap from these women. I always handle my business fully and take care of all my financial responsibilities and support her anyhow, mentally, even from her family, because where I came from, a man should handle his business 100%. She doesn't work. I tried to put her in training so that she can study, but she didn't want to. She sleeps long hours every day and spend the whole time with her family on the phone. Our baby is 2 weeks old, and she complains she's in pain because she had a C-section, and we spent quite some time at the hospital. She can do everything by herself, but always complain about how she has to breastfeed the baby every hour, which is not true, and want to put the baby on formula most of the time, which the doctor said not to. This morning she hit my desk when trying to talk to me because she was mad. This afternoon the baby was crying. I called her many times in front of my sister and my roommate. She didn't respond. So I wanted to feed the baby with my sister with formula. She got up and wanted to do it. I told her to leave it alone. Then she insulted me, saying that I am out of my mind. Then I was like, what did you say to me? Then told her I'ma kick her behind. Then she said it back to me. My sister held me not to confront her. I need your advice, or if you can, make a video for me, please, my brother. Also, he asked how can he protect himself from child support. He says he works full time. So he want to know how can he protect himself from child support. Well, brother, this is a complicated situation. It's something family men have to deal with in whatever country you live in. There's nothing wrong with being a family man. I've always said good men deserve children. The problem with society is too many weak men, and too much of the wrong men are having children, don't know how to instill the proper discipline and information in the kids. So now we have a society that's quite backwards. So I'm proud of you for being a man of honor, and you do have a family. So that's a good thing. However, you're a woman. You have to understand women in general deal with a lot of psychological issues. When you meet them, they've been through a lot. Some of it is their fault. Some of it they've been played. In other cases, it's just naturally how they are. Women are a bag of emotions. They're like a walking empath. It's not a bad thing per se. It's just how they're built. All right. If we expect women to be logical, they would be men. All right. They wouldn't want to, women wouldn't feel sexy cooking for her dude or feel turned on because he said get on your knees. You understand? It takes a level of being illogical to find that to be a turn on for you as a person to do. You understand? So likewise, as a man, we must understand that because they're built that way, it's quite backwards to how we think. Okay, so many things imprint our women psychologically, and we're unaware of it. All right, one of the first things that affect our women psychologically is how they date growing up, how their father was, how their mother might have abused them. Many women are abused by their mothers. We talk about fathers or stepfathers who are sexually abusive, but many women are abused by their mothers, and their mothers really damage them, depending on what kind of a caretaker their mothers were. Now, with that being said, you have to be a little patient in this situation. Normally, I don't plead a disrespect. I'm on their butts the same way that you said you are yourself. I get that. However, you have to understand there were 4 miscarriages, as you said. I know you said you try to be there for her mentally. She seems like she has a problem with her family. Now, when you're hearing this with women, it goes both ways. Sometimes she's the problem, and you're not hearing the other side of the story, all right? Or you're not hearing the third side, which is the truth, right? Because there's 3 sides. There's going to be her side, her family's side, and then there's the truth, right? So she has issues with her family. Some of that could be her fault. So, we don't know exactly whose fault it is that she's having issues with her family. You said you help her with that. You help her mentally. You try to protect her and be there for her. That's a good thing. Now, also keep in mind, these 4 miscarriages are no joke. Whenever a woman starts losing children and so on and so forth, they tend to believe that it is their fault. Because they believe it's their fault, they start to go through a psychological depression. And this is a real medical condition with women. It could even be dangerous for the baby. It's something you have to keep in mind. So right now, you cannot be as tough with them because I'm telling you this from experience of women of different cultures. This is not just Americanized or American. It's not just West African. It's not just European, Asian. It's not just Caribbean, South American, North American, European. It doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter where she's from. All women go through this. As they lose kids, they feel like they're killing their own child. They feel like they cannot be competent as a woman. It's kind of a worse version of a man that can't get it up, all right? A piece of your womanhood is missing. The same way a piece of your manhood is missing. That every time you stand in front of a chick that's bad, that looks good, that you really want to be with, you can't get it up. You can slap it, turn it, twist it, stick it in the sink, pour some cold water on it. It doesn't matter. It's not standing up. It's not getting up. It's not rising to the occasion. For her, it's even worse. It's like saying you have a cursed womb. She's going to be hurt from this. She may even need medical attention, psychological attention, you know what I'm saying, from an expert. So this is a very tender situation, okay? Now, with that said, understand, I am the brother, Mr. Limba, so I'm always building towards something when I'm giving you some advice, because I deal with real issues and I deal with helping men with real issues, all right? So she had 4 miscarriages. So basically 4 times she believed that she basically is killing her own kid. That's what she kind of see it in her own mind. No matter what she says, it bothers her, it hurts her. Now, her C-section is also very recent, all right? So, yes, she can still be in pain. I wouldn't say she said. She says some women also carry certain psychological pains that pretty much what it does is it still makes her feel pain in areas that she was injured like for example a C-section, she'll still feel that pain there even if it's not always necessarily physically there. Some people go up to 7 weeks. Some may still have vaginal bleeding, all right? So keep that in mind. Right now is a tender time. So when you're dealing as a family man, you can't always deal as a pimp. You know, many YouTube guys give advice to sell the audience. They give advice because they get them views. They give advice because guys were like, yeah, he's so hardcore. But no one in reality is actually living that life. You understand? You see what I'm saying? No one is living that life in reality. So that is something to keep in mind. You know, these guys are talking tough all the time, but they understand to really deal with women, there's a time, there's a push and pull, right? Like the dating coach will teach you. You know, when you pull, when you push, so on and so forth. Well, there's a time to be tough. There's a time to ease off when you're a family man. The opposite needs to be, you know, understood. She just had a baby. After 4 miscarriages, they had to actually cut up her womb, cut up her stomach to get a child out, a C-section. She didn't give a natural birth. So right now, you got to be easy. You got to talk to her. You got to be easy. You got to take notes. And you know, even if you don't say anything, you take notes. You understand? Women go through postpartum depression, which can cause fatigue, anxiety, sleeplessness. It could cause her milk to go bad. So she may not even be able to breastfeed after a while if the stress continues. It goes bad, which means the baby cannot drink it. The milk itself turns bad. Now understand the degree of an emotional being that you're dealing with, where her chemical imbalance, her mental imbalance can be so strong where it causes this type of issue. Now for most men who are inexperienced, just in the manosphere talking big all the time, they don't know to tell you this, dude. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, my brother? They don't know how to get this message out properly because everything is about the hype. Your woman's milk can actually go bad. It can actually hurt the child to drink that milk. Now, that may not be the case right now, but understand she is under real stress. Even if her stress is caused by BS, her stress is still real to her. And right now, her body matters, her mind matters because it affects your child. So you're going to have to think about the bigger picture. You have your seed, and you have to be able to grow and raise your seed as a man. You see what I'm saying? So again, a little patience, a little understanding. If she's religious, you know, you might want to, you said you guys from West Africa, so most likely there's some form of religious beliefs in there. I would suggest you guys straighten yourselves into that right now. You understand? You could try to kindly talk her out of things. You understand? So that is very necessary. Now, you don't want to threaten her. Like when she hit your desk and, you know, threaten you, she is going into that mindset of craziness. From what you say, it seems like she never did this before. Is this not something she was doing before or prior to this baby delivery, prior to this 4 miscarriages? So you want to kind of like keep that in mind, that maybe she's dealing with postpartum depression. After women give birth, they deal with that depression. I suggest you look more into it and do more research, because with that depression, women sometimes literally also go crazy. That's in addition to their milk going bad. They may get out and run out down the streets. You know, they literally may go insane where they need to be committed to a institution, a mental institution, where they need to be admitted and held into some form of psych ward, you know, to say the least. You know, they need to be restrained and medicated, mentally medicated, sedated is the word I'm looking for. These things happen after a woman gives birth. So this type of knowledge is needed for men to understand, for family men, for men who are doing God's work, because it was ordered for men to actually have children. So all this crap about don't have it is BS. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you, what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. We need good people raising kids again. All right? I always said, you know, you can't beat nature. My brother Kevin Kelly always says, nature never loses and nature never lies, right? Nature and biology, people will have sex. People will reproduce. So this idea of that we're not going to reproduce crap, nobody is really not going to work. All right, people will do it. You may not do it, but in general, the majority of people will do it. All right, you're not going to beat biology and reproduction. All right, that's normal. And if a good man who's actually understanding this wisdom, who follows my channel, who most likely is a man of scripture is having children, that's a good thing. I'm not going to sit here and bash that, okay? So do understand those things come with the idea of having a family. This could happen to a perfectly good woman that you always had, all right? Her little issues may become bigger. You mentioned she doesn't work. I'm not sure if that's something you guys mutually agreed with, but most women who are from foreign countries, especially if they're recently from the foreign countries, they tend to stay on WhatsApp. They tend to stay online, talking to their family on the phone as much as they possibly can. Most men don't care because those women are usually better women than American women. As long as she cooks, as long as she cleans, as long as she has sex with you and reproduce your children and give you that bloodline that you're trying to bring forth, who cares? You understand? Now, whether or not she works is up to you. Some men don't care if their women work. Some men do care if their women work. So that's something that, you guys had to talk about. Right now, it's not the time because she is going through a lot. All right? But baby's important. That's number one. Okay? And sadly, you're going to have to make her right now number two. Of course, number one is always God. You understand what I mean? But number one, I'm saying in the physical sense, that baby's number one. And her mental health right now, her situation has to be number two because it directly correlates and relates to your child. You're going to have to be reserved. Men do not fight at all times. You understand? We can't always take up the sword all the time. You don't want to threaten her just because she said something stupid or threatened you. Sometimes a stare is enough. Sometimes a death stare is enough. So she still knows that you're not the guy to play. But you don't have to threaten to physically harm her in any way because those words may manifest. And before you know it, you lost your foot somewhere up her rear end, So you don't want to do that. You don't want to get to that position. You understand? It's a lot of stress for both father and mother doing newborns, especially after 4 miscarriages. You guys have been through a lot together. She's afraid that you might leave her. Sometimes you have to reassure a woman after she gives birth, even normal birth, that you're not going to leave them, okay? It's not about simping. It's about her mental state, your baby, and doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with a man doing the right thing. There's a time to check her, and there's a time to actually baby her a bit. A woman is your oldest child in the house. You have to understand that. They're not mentally as strong as we are, and we can't hope that they become mentally as strong as we are because that's illogical. Because if they were like us, there's no way you would feel happiness and joy and cooking and cleaning for this dominant masculine man and getting on your knees and pleasing him and letting him slap stuff all over your forehead. That doesn't make any damn sense for any of us men, right? Because we think differently, we are differently. But as a woman, that turns them on. Does that make sense? No. So you can't just pick and choose as men when it makes sense, when their illogical behaviors are deemed okay, all right? Because for the most part, they're just illogical in general. You just have to guide them, okay? As long as they are guide-able, as long as you can coach them, they're coachable, all right? Right now, you need patience, okay? That is just something that you need. If you need her to work, it's something you're going to have to bring up later on. This is a lot of advice. I'm trying to cram it up in a video that's, not too long. Also, you mentioned child support, how to avoid or get out of child support. In America, and as you gave me your state, I'm not going to name it here. You have to study the laws of your state. But in America, in general, it's very difficult to get out of child support. I really don't dread child support. I think it is abused, but money for my kids, I tend not to care. I'm not worried about that idea. Now, I'm not a father, but if I were to be in that situation, I'm not too worried about the idea of child support. But the best way out of child support is actually not to have children. That is not your case right now. And even when you don't have kids, you may still end up on child support. If you moved in with a woman with a child under the age of 4 years old, in most states, you are considered an adoptive parent almost automatically, especially if you marry that woman. If you sign that baby's birth certificate, even if it's not yours. I had an old video called "Do Not Sign the Birth Certificate." I think that video was like 4 years old now. I believe the brother, a Book of Alpharonomy, the brother BOA, also recently had a video about signing the birth certificate. I suggest you could check that out. So those are other ways you could get yourself into child support, even though you don't have any children. Okay. And in more extreme cases, even if the court knows of the biological father, even if the biological father is paying child support, if you ever said the kid was yours at any point in time, if you ever married the mother when the kid was at a tender age, if you ever provided anything for the kid, the courts can require that both paternal father, and the adoptive father or adoptive parent, masculine figure, which would be you at the time, both pay child support. So it is very, very, very difficult to get out of child support in America. Now, one of the few ways you can get out of child support is if you assume full custody or the majority of the custody of that child. That child now lives with you, in which case you would have to prove that the mother is unfit to parent and be the guardian of such child. All right. Maybe they are a danger to the child. Maybe they refuse to feed the child. Maybe they are harming the child. Maybe they are doing things that are a danger to the mother and to people around her, which may also include the baby. You understand? I suggest you probably start doing some spying. So understand that when you do spy, such as installing certain cameras that she's unaware of, if you go to a spy gadget store online, you could get some footage and some audio. However, some courts do not accept recordings or spy evidence if it was taken without consent. Some courts, you would need advice from a lawyer. I suggest you actually get yourself some legal advice. All right. That is some of the few ways you can actually prove that she is unsafe. If she is on drugs, is another way probably you can try to show that she's not fit to take care of the child. Anything violent, anything dangerous, anything reckless can be used against her to give you full custody. Now, if you're married, you may still have spousal support because she doesn't work and you've been sponsoring her lifestyle. So do understand that is another aspect that you would have to think about. However, child support is not the easiest thing to get out of. I do have videos on Patreon regarding people who are married legally, a little bit of child support, where I get more into the legal stuff of how to evade certain unfair laws of the system. So that is something to keep in mind. But right now, if I were you, my advice would be to do what I said previously, to try to be more patient with her, to try to be more understanding. Don't necessarily become her doormat, but right now your child is in need of a mother, in need of a complete family unit. So do keep that in mind. Also, with your child still being breastfed, it is highly unlikely that the courts will turn over a baby that needs to be breastfed to a father that doesn't stay home and is consistently at work. It is better that that child remains with a mother that actually has the milk to feed the child, and a mother that doesn't work who can give that child 24/7 attention. That is the way they will understand the situation, look into the situation, and that is how they will probably rule on the situation. So at least for the minimum, you might want to wait till the child is not being breastfed anymore. But if I were you, I would try to make my relationship work. Give me more details if I'm judging this and giving you advice because I'm missing some information. Maybe I'm giving you advice that is not as accurate as it should be. I'm taking that in mind. So do go ahead and write me some more. Remember, for you guys who are on Patreon, any question you have, you ask, I will drop a video here on YouTube to answer your question. Until then, I'll be taking care of my health. I'll be taking care of my business. I hope you guys do the same. Understand the world around you is changing, and do keep in mind your growth as a man. Do not waste hours and hours on YouTube just listening to men entertain you on the topic of women who don't give an ish about you. So, once again, brothers, have a good day. Keep your feet up. Keep your crowns polished. It's your brother, Mr. Limba. Peace out.